Welcome to Walk Down History number 5. We are now going to look at something that no human being could possibly do, and that is know the future and control it. It's called Nevuah. An element of prophecy is knowing and telling what's going to happen in the future. So let's quickly cover the criteria for knowing if Nevuah is real or not. So number 1, it has to demonstrate knowledge of the future. Number 2, control of the future. Obviously, no human being can play that game. I call it a game because there are rules. So if you have, for example, a weather forecaster. So the weather forecaster, he'll tell you, oh, there's going to be 6 inches of snow on, let's say, January the 29th in New York City. And sure enough, 6 inches of snow falls in New York City. He gave the forecast 3 days ago. Why? Why won't you call him a prophet? Because he's not reading the future. He's not telling you what's going to happen. He's reading the present and all the patterns in all the meteorological information and data that's available to him between the winds, the clouds, and the surface of the earth, etc. He's not reading the future. He's reading the present and speculating into the next few days. Here's a question. What happens if he says there's going to be 6 inches of snow on January 27th, 2017? So you have to wait a whole year. Right now we're in 2016. So you have to wait a whole year, stick around New York City, and sure enough, 6 inches of snow falls in New York City in 2017 on January 27th. Will you call him a prophet, yes or no? And the answer is, of course not. Why? Because that's rational. What time of year is January? Winter. And what sometimes happens in New York around the winter, can snow. Can it snow easily 6 inches? Yeah, it can happen. Oh, that's rational. Prophecy has to be irrational, illogical. You don't want it to make sense, so that when it happens, you're forced to conclude, how could you have known that? If the same weather forecaster tells us there'll be 6 inches of snow in New York City on July the 4th, 2016. Today we're in January 2016. Let's say you stick around till July, and sure enough, 6 inches of snow falls in New York City on July the 4th? Never happened in history. There's no recorded event. So you're going to say, dear weather forecaster, how could you have possibly have known that? Oh, that's irrational. That makes no sense. That's exactly what Nevuah is meant to be. You don't want it to make sense, so that when it happens, you realize, hey, how could you have known that information, knowledge of the future? And it happened? Oh, so you're speaking in the name of the power of all powers who controls the future. Knowledge, control. Control includes control of nature, control of history, civilizations, empires, nations. You want Nevuah to be high in risk. High in risk means it's extremely unlikely to happen. It's irrational and extremely unlikely to happen. There are many hundreds of Nevuahs throughout Tanakh. We're not even going to cover all of them. We're just going to take 21 major Nevuahs. I'm going to give you an example of the ones we're not covering. The Makkos. Every single one of the Makkos of the 10 plagues was a Nevuah. Irrational. Water's going to turn to blood. Why? Well, if you don't let us go. That's irrational. That makes no sense. Exactly. That's what you want. And then when it happens, oh, that demonstrates control. Knowledge of the future, control of the future. If you don't let us go, we're going to bring Choshech. We're going to bring Arba. We're going to destroy every firstborn. And, oh, irrational. And that's exactly what you want. Knowledge, control of the future, control of nature, control of all the elements in creation. So that's why the Makkos were all Nevuahs, and they were all Mekuyim. You take Noach's Ark and the Teva and the Mabul. The Mabul was a Nevuah. A lot of these are conditional if we do Teshuvah, if you let us go. And if not, then, so there's a condition in that Nevuah. And in those conditional Nevuahs, it is irrational. What, there's going to be a flood and destroy the world if mankind remains decadent and promiscuous and doesn't control their tivas? What's rain got to do with the choices of a person? And the answer is everything. Because who is in control? Oh, the power of all powers, Elohim. You are the one power behind all the powers. Oh, So this is the power of Nevuah. Knowledge of the future, control of the future, control of nature, control of history, which includes nations, civilizations, empires. You want it to be irrational, you want it to not make sense, and it to be high in risk, extremely unlikely to happen. And last of all, you want the Nevuah to be given before the event. That kind of counts. Technical detail, but yeah, you need the Nevuah to be given before it actually happened. Now what we're going to do is look throughout the Torah, and we're going to look at some of the major Nevuahs given through the Jewish people, through Moshe Rabbeinu, and through Nach, and we're going to then ask ourselves, Hashem, did you keep your promise? Did you keep your Nevuah? And see what type of track record he has. Last part of my introduction. There's two words you and I say every time we make a promise. What's the obvious danger in a promise? Well, if I don't keep it, you're going to say, I'm not trustworthy. I can't keep my word. I don't control the future. If I don't keep my promise, I'm at risk of losing my credibility. But what are the two words every Jew says to cover themselves when they make a promise? We say bli neder, without a promise. It's not an oath, it's not a promise. We have to cover ourselves because I don't control the traffic, I don't control the weather. I'm expecting to be on time, but lots of things could happen. Oh. How many times does the Kadosh Baruch Hu say bli neder? 0! Why? Why isn't it just to cover? No. Hashem is in control. He never has to say bli neder. He is in control of the future. He knows the future. Oh, now let's walk down the timeline and see where Hashem has given us promises. So Nevuah number 1, in Perek Tesvav, Pasuk Hey, in Brisbane Apsarim, we find in Parshas Lech Lecha, Hashem tells Avram Avinu, Habet Shemaima, please look up at the stars. Im Toichal, if you're able, Lispar, Oisam, if you can count them. Vayomer Ko Yezarecha, Hashem said to him, so will be your seed, your children. Now that's interesting because in Pasuk Yud Beis, the Pasuk tells us, Vayihi Hashemesh Lavai, and the sun went down. Oh, 1 second. If Avram Avinu is being spoken to, count the stars, and then the Torah reports that the sun went down, when was he being asked to count them? And the answer is daytime. Oh, how many stars can you count during the day? And the answer is 1, the local sun. So how many children was he actually being promised? Only 1. How many children did Avram Avinu actually give birth to through Sarah Menu? Oh, 1 child. But you look at the words, Ko Yizarecha. Ko is a language of Eichus, not Kamus. Quality, not quantity. What does that mean? Yes, there are other Nevuahs which describe us as being as many as the stars or like as numerous as the dust. Each time you look at those Nevuahs, and you'll find them on the back of the cards in this set that you'll be getting, you will find that it's always a mashal, it's a metaphor. So, for example, you'll be like the dust of the earth. What does it mean, like the dust of the earth? Well, when you're trodden on, are you going to be able to recover? Well, look at the dust. It's a blessing. Just like the dust of the earth, which is trodden on again and again and again, but it's still there. Yet you will exist like the stars. You will exist like the dust of the earth. It's a metaphor. It's an ability to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is talking about our endurance, just like the stars of the heaven. Or in the case of Avram Avinu, in this particular Nevuah, he's being promised 1 child, and indeed he was only birthed 1 child through Sarah Menu. Continues the next Nevuah, Perek Yud Beis, Pasuk Beis and Gimel, also in Parshas Lech Lecha, where Kadosh Baruch Hu promises you will be blessed to such an extent that every family on the earth will be blessed through you. Avarcha mevarchecha, I will bless those who bless you. Umikalelcha ha'er, and I will curse those who curse you. V'nivrechu v'cha kol mishpachos ha'adama, and blessed through you will be all the families of the earth. Interesting. Fast forward, what contribution has the Jewish people brought to the world? Did the Jewish people teach the world morality? Oh, who taught the world kibbut av v'em? Who brought to the world the mitzvah of tzedakah, teaching charity? Who taught the world to take care of the almana, the yesoma, the oppressed? These are Torah inventions. Oh, we're going to see later on, in the secular world, have we made a massive contribution? Oh, the entire earth will be blessed through you. Check it off. Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk Zayin. I'm keeping my promise to you, between us and between myself and your seed, for their generation, livris olam, for an eternal promise, eternal contract. Bris means covenant, contract, promise. Olam means forever. Oh, what is that? Liyos lecha lelokim, to be for you an all-powerful God. Ulazarecha acharecha, and for your children after you. Oh, you will be my eternal nation. Yes, you are part of a nation that's called Am Olam, an eternal nation. Because this is a bris olam. This is a promise forever. That's a long time. Our icon for that is a circle. A circle has no beginning, no end. And we are being promised that you will be an eternal nation. Well, let's figure out what would have to happen to sabotage this nevuah. Well, I guess someone might have to stand up on the map of history and try to knock us off, kill us, destroy us. Well, has anyone had a go at us? Go down the timeline, the Mitzrim, go down the timeline, Bavel, Pras, Haman, yeah, he tried to destroy all of us. Move down the timeline. Oh, the Greek Empire tried to assimilate us. Keep moving down, the Roman Empire, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Cossacks, Tachvetat, Tsarist Russia, Communist Russia, the Holocaust, Jihad. Oh, who's still here? Who's still here? Besides Yishmael, we're the only nation. Yishmael was promised also in Perek Yud Zayin to Avram Avinu that his child, Yishmael, born through Hagar, would live for a long time and he would have many tribes, 12 in total. But we are the Am Olam that will finally inherit Eretz Yisrael forever, and you are our God forever. No other nation is given this promise. Check it off. We already looked at this earlier, where Hashem says in Perek Tesvav, Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vayomer Avram Yado Teda, you shall surely know, Ki Ger Yezarecha, your child will be Be'eretz Lo Lahem, in a land not theirs, Ve'avadum Ve'inu Oisam, they will be enslaved and oppressed, Arba Me'ois Shana, 400 years. V'gam es hagoy asher ya'avodu, and even the nation that oppressed them, Dan Anochi, I'm going to judge with the Makkos. V'achreichen, and after that, Yetzu b'chush gadol, they'll come out with great wealth. Did it come true? This promise is given in Brisbane Upsarim in 2018, plus the 30 years till Yitzhak was born. That becomes 2048 plus 400. And now you've got 2448. We had Yetziat Mitzrayim and we came out B'ruchush Gadol with great wealth. Check it off. Parshas Yisro, Perek Yutes Pasuk Tes. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hine always means behold, which means pay special attention. Every word in the Torah needs special attention, but when Hashem goes out of his way to say Hine, it means pay special attention. Hine ani ba be'av hanan. Behold, I'm coming in a thick cloud above Har Sinai, ba'avur yishma ha'am, so that the nation will hear, b'dabri imach. I'm speaking directly with you, Moshe Rabbeinu. Don't go down and say Hashem spoke to me in front of nobody. Ha ha ha, that's all the other religions. No, this is different. I'm coming down on a thick cloud so the nation will hear, b'dabri imach. I'm speaking directly with you. You know why? V'gam b'cha, so in you also, and future Nevi'im, v'gam b'cha, ya'aminu la'olam. They will be convinced, they'll have a munah in you forever. How long is la'olam? That's forever. Yeah, check it out. Have there been Jews who have been loyal to the claim? Moshe Rabbeinu gave us this Torah at Har Sinai, and it's the same Torah. Yes. When you read the Sefer Torah every Shabbos morning, Mondays and Thursdays and Shabbos afternoon, question, how many versions of the Sefer Torah are there? Oh, we've got one Sefer Torah. Sephardi, Ashkenazi, Hasidish. The Yemenites have a Sefer Torah which has 9 variations. All of those 9, by the way, doesn't change the meaning of the word or the way you read it. It's just in the spelling. Not only that, it doesn't change the meaning. The spelling hasn't changed the meaning of the word. Oh, so out of all the different Sifrei Torah, on Shabbos Kodesh, you're reading the same Sefer Torah, and when they hold it up for Hagbah, what's the pasuk you declare? Oh, Perek Daled, pasuk Mem Daled, Parshas Beis Chanan. Zos HaTorah, this is the same Torah, says Sham Moshe, Lifnei Bnei Yisrael, that Moshe Rabbeinu placed in front of the Jewish people. Oh, you're reading the same Sefer Torah. And what do we all do if the Baal Kaira makes a slight mistake in the reading? Everyone screams out. Why? Did you ever see the Rav of the Shul say, Rabbi, what's the matter with you? Are you out of your minds? You know that Pirkei Avos says, Kol amal b'pnei chaver b'rabim, anyone who embarrasses another person in public, ein lo chelek le'olam haba. He doesn't get whipped, isn't mitzvahs based in. We don't kill him, that's way too kind. He's lost his eternity. The poor man, he's doing his best, he's practiced all week, leave him alone. You never heard the Rav go like that. Why not? Because if you're going to do something as serious as read our Torah in public, don't you dare deviate. Don't you dare change one letter, one word. And if you do, there'll be skid marks all over the shul. Oh, we are meticulous. Don't you dare mess with our Torah. Oh, I'm coming to you, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in front of the whole Jewish people, so that they will hear I'm speaking with you, so that Gam B'cha, in you also, the Torah, which I'm empowering you as the leader that I spoke to directly, Ya'aminu la'olam, they will have emunah in you forever, that you are the lawgiver of my Torah to the Jewish people. Check it off. The next nevuah comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Vayischanan Perek Daled, Pasuk Lamed Beis. This is arguably the most powerful of them all. Ki sha'al na. What does sha'al mean? No, it doesn't mean ask. It means ask. Don't worry, they pay me to speak this way. What does na mean? Na means please. Moshe Rabbeinu writes the following words to the Jewish people. I don't care where you live in history, don't take this on blind faith. Ask. What's the question you want me to ask? Ki sha'alna liyamim rishonim asher hayu lefanecha. Please ask about the days that came before you. How much before you? Here we are at Ma'amad HaSinai, 40 years later, at the writing of Devarim, and Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, I beg of you, ask about the days that came before you. How much before you? Min hayom asher bara Elokim Adam al haaretz. From the day Adam was created on the land, on earth, the 6th day of creation. Oh my gosh, that's the beginning of time. From one end of the universe to the other end of the universe. In time and space, says Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't care where you live, please ask this question. Haniyeh kadava hagadol hazeh. Was there ever anything as great as this? Oy hanishma kamayhu. Did you hear from anyone else anything as great as this? What is this? Hashama am kol Elokim. That a nation heard the voice of the power of powers. Midaber mitoich ha'esh, speaking from the midst of the fire. Kasher shamata, like you heard. Vayechi, and survived. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, I don't care where you live in history, 1,000 years after Brias Olam, time of Adam HaRishon, 2,000 years, time of Yitzhak, 3,000 years, at the time of the building of the Bayis Rishon, 4,000 years. I don't care where you live in history, the time of the Mishnah, 4,000 years, 5,000 years, time of Rambam, 5,776, where you are. Please ask this question. Was there ever an event as great as this? What's the event? That a whole nation heard the voice of Elokim, the power of all powers. Ba'al ha'koiches kulam. The one power that controls all other powers. Midaber mitoich ha'esh, speaking from the fire of Har Sinai, ka'asher shamato, like you heard. You were witnesses. Oh, Moshe Rabbeinu is challenging us. I beg of you, check out if there's another religion in the history of mankind, from the beginning of time till wherever you are, that made the daring claim that an almighty power spoke to an entire nation. You're the only ones. Doesn't stop there. There's a dual prophecy in this. Was there ever a situation where an almighty power elevated another nation by taking them out from another nation? With maiftim, with wonders, ubilhama, and war, uviad chazaka, with an outstretched arm, with amazing, incredible signs and wonders, like Hashem, your eternal power, did for you, b'mitzrayim le'einecha, for you in Egypt, in front of your eyes. You witnessed Yetziat Mitzrayim. You participated. You can testify because you were there. Atarata, you have seen, ladas, to know, ki Hashem hu Elokim ein oid milvadai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is the eternal power of all powers. There is no other power. Nothing else exists except Him, because you saw every element in creation lose power, was being controlled by one power, Hashem Himself. So Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us, I don't care where you live in history, please ask, was there ever a dual event as great as this? Matan Torah and Yetziat Mitzrayim. It will never happen again. Oh, that's the power of your emunah. But it doesn't stop there. In 3,327 years since Ma'amad HaSinai, has any religion or nation or civilization or empire claimed that an almighty power spoke to their entire nation or did something so wondrous as to take a slave nation out of the most powerful empire of the time? Never happened. Oh, 3,327 years later, no one else made a claim like this, and you never even heard them, because they can't even lie about a claim of this magnitude, because you can't unless it happened. Check it off. I'm giving you this land. You're going to inherit it. This is a promise to Avram Avinu. Perek Yud Zayin Pasuk Ches. V'nasati lecha ulazaracha acharecha. I'm giving to you and to your child after you, Es Eretz Migurecha, the land of your sojourning, of your wandering, Es Kol Eretz Canaan, the entire land of Canaan. What's the next two words? La'achuzas Olam, for an eternal inheritance. Olam, how long is that? Forever. This is going to be your land forever. V'hayisi lahem lelokim. And now a reminder of the previous pasuk, and I will be for you an all-powerful God. Oh, check it off. Did we enter the land under Yehoshua? Fast forward. Oh, here we entered the land. Check it off. Perek Havav in Parshas Bechukoisai. You're going to go into exile. That is weird. That is so irrational. That's exactly what Nevuah is. It just doesn't make sense. You're going to transport an entire nation out of its land, exile it. Fast forward to Bavel, check it off. Yes, you were exiled from your land. Yirmiyahu Perek Kaf Hei, you will be returning to your land after 70 years. Expiration date, 70 years. Really? That's a dangerous thing to say. Well, check out the story of Purim. Achashverosh, first chapter of Megillas Esther, completely devoted to the Purim party. How long was that Purim party? 180 days. Ladies, how many of you can handle 3 days Yom Tov? 180 days Yom Tov? What was Achashverosh so happy about? Oh, his miscalculation of the 70-year nevuah of Yirmiyahu. He believed in it. He had emunah. But according to his miscalculation that the 70 years has passed, he believed that Hashem has finally, Has v'Shalom, rejected us. There's an expiration date, 70 years has passed, and we're not coming back rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has finally let go of his people, Has v'Shalom. Check it off. He was out by 5 years. Yes, under Darius II, the son of Esther, we got permission to return and rebuild the Bayis Sheni, the second temple. Perek Chav Ches, Chav Tes, Lamed, you're going to see there the most painful chapters probably in the entire Chumash of Devarim, describing Parshas Kisavai, describing exile number 2. You're going to go in exile a second time if you don't remain loyal to my Torah. Check it off, the Roman exile. In exile, your land will remain desolate. Vayikra, Chavav, Pasuk Lamed Beis and Lamed Gimel, Yirmiyahu Perek Tes, Pasuk Tes and Yud, Dvarim Perek Chav Tes, Pasuk Yud Aleph. You're going to leave the land and the land will wait for you. It will remain desolate. It will be a wasteland. Check it off. Yes, for the next almost 2,000 years, many empires, civilizations, nations conquered Eretz Yisrael. Did they ever succeed in sustaining an entire nation and an economy? No, why not? Oh, because the land is umbilically related to the Jewish people and our mitzvahs, specifically Bris Milah. It's enough if you just keep that one mitzvah, I will give you back the land, and the land will give its produce. But if it's not a Jew and not Bris Milah, you have no right to this land. Oh, check it off. It remained desolate till Yidden came back at the first Yishuv, Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, Talmidim of the Gra, 1877 onwards. You will be scattered throughout the whole world. Perek Dalet, Pasuk Chav Zayin in Parshas Ve'eschanan. Yeah, I'm going to scatter you throughout the world. Really? That's very dangerous. 1 second. When you get absorbed into a host nation, it only takes 1 or 2 generations to be totally assimilated, absorbed into their culture. How many generations does it take for a Hispanic in America to be absorbed into the culture? 1 or 2 generations. And the cuisine and the lifestyle, the culture, you don't support the Toledos, you're supporting the Mets. Oh, it takes 1 or 2 generations and you're totally assimilated. No, you will still be recognized as you, despite the fact that I am scattering you amongst nations. Yes, assimilation, yes, a lot of persecution, but you will still survive and you will retain your identity. Same Shabbos, same Kashrus, same Tefillin, same Mezuzah, same Lulav, same mitzvahs, same tzitzit. Oh, it's a promise. I cover my Brooklyn accent very well. I'm actually born in London. My father is of Italian descent. My mother was born in Baghdad. My wife is born in Bombay. Her father was born in Afghanistan. Her mother was born in Eretz Yisrael. Her mother's parents are both born in Iran. My children, some are from England, some are from America. My father's mother was born in Brisk. Have we been all over the world? I sound like a Mishnah in Yevamos. Now you know why I'm so confused. Yeah, we've been everywhere. That's just my family. You go back your family 1, 2, 3 generations, you'll see you haven't been in America for that long. Or wherever you are now listening to this, you, yes you, the same Jew, identified as a Jew, has been scattered throughout the world. You'll see on this picture lots of dots all over the different continents. Oh, you will retain your identity. That's a miracle. According to Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the greatest miracle, greater than all the miracles described in the entire Tanakh, from the creation of the universe, a miracle of unprecedented magnitude, the miracle of Yetziat Mitzrayim and Matan Torah, all the miracles of the marble and the 10 Makkos and all the miracles of Tanakh on one side of the scale, and you put the miracle of the survival of the Jewish people on the other side of the scale, claims Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the survival of the Jewish people will outweigh all the other miracles combined. Rabbi Yaakov Emden wrote this in 1726. And he says the further we go into our Galus, which is almost 300 years ago when he wrote this, the more we go into our Galus, and the more we see assimilation, persecution, and we're thrown around the different nations, the more obvious it is that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is keeping us alive. Because the purpose of Nevuah is to show you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the only power behind all this. That's why the word miracle is really a Hebrew word. Miracle is me, Rak, Kel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's behind all this? It's only Hashem. El means power. Rak, only. Me, who? It's only you. That's the miracle. Check it off. Perek, Dalad, Pasuk, Chav Zayin, in Parshas Veschanan, V'nishartem metei mispa, you will remain few in number. Yeah, we are 0.23%. 0.23%. That's less than a quarter of 1% of the world population. 7 billion people in the whole world, approximately 14 million Jews. You are less than 1/4 of 1% of the world population. You look at the Carter Atlas and you'll see we are always on the brink of extinction. How are we still here? Not only does the Torah claim you will remain few in number, Moshe Rabbeinu, why are you making such promises? No one's forcing you to write this. And Moshe Rabbeinu's answer is, I'm not writing this. This is the dictate of Mipi Gvura. This is the Rabbeinu Shalom speaking to me, and he's telling you he knows the future and controls it. And therefore, there's no risk. Hashem knows what's going to happen. And in order that it should be irrational, that you're going to remain few in number after thousands of years of survival, yes, you will remain few in number. Because the Chinese were about the same number as Jews, around about the 2nd century. When we were in the Roman Empire, we were approximately 3 million, 9% of the Roman Empire. There are about 2 to 3 million Chinese at the time. Today, how many Chinese are there? About 1.3 billion! And we're about 13 million. Whoa. What happened? Okay, the Chinese didn't go too far and not too many exiles. The Jewish people had been dispersed, come upon him, assimilated, persecuted. Oh, it's all part of Nevuah. Yeah, you will remain few in number. Are Jews into small families? Not exactly. How do you know? Because it's Nevuah. It's what will happen, not what might happen. In order that when we look at the real numbers, you realize, who's controlling all this? Oh, miracle. It's only you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the miracle. You'll be hated by all the nations. Oh, do we have to walk back down the history timeline to see, did this come true? Perek Chavches in Parshas Kisavai, Pasuk Lamed Zayin, and Pasuk Samach Dalet through Samach Zayin. And you'll find also in Dvarim Perek Chavtes, Pasuk Lamed, you will be hated by all the nations. Oh, so we're not even candidates for survival. We're hated by the nations, and we don't have common land because Eretz Yisrael, we were kicked out nearly 2,000 years ago. Jews have lived in Morocco, lived in Iraq, lived in Syria. We've been kicked out of those countries too, except Morocco was still there. We've been to America. We're all over the place, all over Europe, Russia, New Zealand, Melbourne, Sydney, Australia, Paris, London. Oh, you're going to be persecuted and hated. Is anti-Semitism today a story of the past, or is it as raw and fresh as almost any time in world history? Only a little bit more risky because there's certain nations who openly scream out, we are here to destroy the entire Jewish people. Just wait till we finish with getting our nuclear bomb together and the Jews of Israel will be the first target. And the very person who makes that claim gets a platform in Columbia University, not once, twice, and is telling the whole world their plan. And no one's screaming. Oh, let's make a deal with Iran. What do you mean, let's make a deal? Yes, we're hated today just like any other time in history. So you might ask, you know what, maybe the Jews don't contribute enough. Well, let's look at the 0.23% that we are of the world population. What's our contribution in terms of, let's say, Nobel Prizes? Well, what is a Nobel Prize? Oh, that's a prize given to an individual who has impacted the quality of life internationally. What's the proportion of Jews who are Nobel Prize winners? Worldwide, 22% of Nobel Prize winners are Jews. In America, the number of Jews who are Nobel Prize winners, 37%. You'd start taking separate categories of technology and science, breakthroughs in medicine, we're above 50%. That's bizarre. How is that possible? Oh, you know why? Because even though you are 0.23% of the world population, your contribution is way out of proportion to your real numbers. And do you know why? Because it's a prophecy to Avram Avinu when he was promised, Perek Yud Beis, Pasuk Gimel, V'nivruchu b'cha kol mishpachos ha'adama, through you will be blessed all the nations of the world. Oh my gosh, is that because they love us so much? No, part of the prophecy is you'll be hated. So this makes no sense. Exactly. That's what Nevuah is. It's not meant to make sense. So that when it happens, you're few in number, you're hated, you'll be spread throughout the whole world. Your agenda is survival, and yet your contribution is way out of proportion to your true numbers. To point fingers to Rabbi Shalom, you must be the one who's taking care of us. Yes, the Jewish people are compared to one sheep, surrounded by 70 wolves. Now you and I can get fixated on anti-Semitism, jihad, the world hates us. Or you can switch focus to point fingers to the Raya, the shepherd. Look who's looking after us. Because in every generation they stand up to destroy us. Ve'hakadosh baruch hu matzileinu miyadam. Check it off, we're still here. You will never stop learning and loving my Torah. Perek Lamed Aleph in Dvarim, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Check it out, Yeshayahu Perek Nun Tes, Pasuk Chaf. Lo yamush haTorah zeh mipicha. This Torah will never leave the lips of your mouths. Not your lips, umipi zarecha, umipi zarecha, or the children of your children's lips, me'ata, ve'ad olam, for now and forever. Yeshayahu, you said this almost 3,000 years ago. How can you say that the Torah will never be forgotten from the lips of your children, your children's children, from now and forever? That's a long time. And what's Yeshayahu's answer? I didn't say that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told me to say it. He's writing the script. He knows and controls the future, so of course he can say it. There's no risk. So that when you walk down history from Yeshayahu to where you are in 5776 and ask yourself, are we still keeping your Torah? Thousands of Jungelite in Lakewood, thousands in the Mir Yeshiva, Yerushalayim, thousands worldwide in yeshivas, in Kollel. And when did we produce the most Torah? Under Shalom or persecution? We produced the most Torah in the worst conditions. When was the Mishnah written? While we are under Roman governorship. The Gemara was written in Babylon, in Bavel. We're in exile. The Gaonim wrote all their Pirushim during the exile in Galus Bavel. Rashi and his grandchildren, the Bali Tosfos, which many of us spend most of our time learning in Gemara, wrote their commentaries during the Crusades. Rambam wrote the Mishnah Torah running away from growing Islam. The Inquisition was chasing Jews all around the world. Rabbeinu Yosef Karo, the Mechaber of Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, wrote the Shulchan Aruch running away from the Inquisition. Have we produced the most Torah in the worst conditions? The Baal Shem HaKadosh began the Hasidic movement in the poverty-stricken Russia, Eastern Europe. The Vilna Gaon seeded through Reb Chaim of Volozhin, his main student, the yeshiva movement in the worst conditions of poverty, Eastern Europe, Russia, Tsarist Russia. Oh, we've produced the most Torah under the worst conditions. Has this come true? Check it off. This is not in the Torah or Nach itself. This nevuah that the Kosel HaMaravi will never be destroyed. The Shekhinah will never leave the Kosel HaMaravi. This prophecy is not in Tanakh itself. This is given in Shir HaShirim Rabbah, Perek Beis, Ois, Ches and Tes. You'll also find it on Medrash Rabbah on Shir HaShirim, Perek Beis, Ois Dalet. How many of you have been to the Kosel? How many of you have been to the tunnels underneath the Kosel and get a feel of how deep and long the Kosel actually is? Yeah, it's still there. Screaming out, Amen. You know why I agree your Torah is true? You know why I'm still here? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said so. This makes no sense. Of course not. That's what Nevuah is supposed to be. It's supposed to not make sense. So that when you arrive where you are in 5776, you can ask the question, Rabbi Shalom, are you keeping your promises? Check them off. But all these things will have found you by the end of days. Where's the end of days? What's all these things? Well, the end of days, I don't think that's the first 1,000 years. That's barely Adam Rishon died 930. 2,000 years around time of Yitzhak Avinu? Nowhere near. That's not the end of days. 3,000 Oh, the Bais Rishon? No. 4,000, time of the Mishnah? No. 5,000, time of Rambam? I don't think so. 5776. You are only a few inches off the end of 6,000. But Salacha, Sa'ucha, Kol Advarim Eileh, all of these items will have found you by the end of days. What items? There'll never be another Matan Torah. You'll be exiled not once but twice, 70 years in between. You'll be spread throughout the entire world. You will retain your identity. You will remain few in number. You will be hated by all the nations. You will never stop learning my Torah. But Salacha, Sa'ucha, Kol Hadvarim Eileh. And you know what's going to happen next? You're going to come back to me and back to the land. Oh, wow. You know what? That's amazing. You're going to do teshuvah? Yeah, that's a promise. The Jewish people are going to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hold on tight. And then comes, you're going to return to the land. You live right over here in 5776. The only three things that haven't fully happened yet. Kibbutz Galius, Mashiach building Bais Shlishi, and Trias HaMesim, and all the small nevuahs that are contained within them. Eliyahu Navi, Mashiach bringing peace to the entire world speaking one language. We're going to get to that at a later stage when we talk about 6 turning points in the Torah. But right now, look where you are. 5776. And out of all these nevuahs, you can check them off except for the last 3. Hashem has kept all of them. Oh, really? Has Hashem got a good track record or a perfect track record? Do you think the last 3 might happen or definitely will? Where are you? 5776. How many Jews in the world? About 13, 14 million. How many live in Eretz Yisrael? Over 6 million. Really? December 2013, national census, just over 6 million. We're at the tipping point where almost half the Jews in the entire world live in the land of Israel. 1 second, in the last 2,000 years, your grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents hardly ever saw the land, let alone lived there. And now, where you are, in 5776, almost half the world Jews live in Eretz Yisrael. How did that happen? Can you see Hashem is on schedule? We're just about to reach the point. Kibbutz Galius has not begun. But can you see how close we are in Hashem's preparation for world events? Kibbutz Galius will start when Eliyahu Navi will announce coming of Mashiach, and he will tell us who's a Jew, who's not a Jew, and who will be allowed to live in Eretz Yisrael, because only Jews will be allowed to live in Eretz Yisrael. So Kibbutz Galius has not begun, hasn't started, but comes along the Torah and tells us, check it off. And then what will happen? After all these things have found you by the end of days, then you'll return to your all-powerful God, and listen to his voice. Oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us we're going to come back to him. Perek Tes Lamed, and we're going to return to the land. Oh, really? Can you see it happening? Can you see where you are? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're keeping all your promises, and for sure you're going to keep the last 3. And here's our question, burning question. What type of Jew did they live for you to be? What type of Jew did they live for you? And what type of Jew did they live and die for you to be here? Oh, wearing the same tefillin, same kashrus, same mikveh, same Yom Tov, same Shabbos, lighting candles, dressing like a yid. Oh, lulav, mezuzah, tzitzit, learning Torah, the mitzvahs, Pesach, matzah, Leil Seder, holding on, not letting go, to an emunah that started at an event you cannot fake unless it happened. You are part of a nation that's called Am Olam. It's a bris Olam. This is a promise forever. You are an eternal nation, and we can demonstrate that in the worst imaginable conditions of the worst persecutions and assimilation, you, yes, you, are survivors of all those people that lived for you to be here. And what type of Jew will you be? And the answer is, your choice.